Good evening or good day. My name is Gwinnera. I'm one of the representatives from Enjoying Life Fully. We are gathered here to share with you a new topic, the topic of coloring outside the lines. For those of you who don't know Enjoying Life Fully, we are exist to empower, inspire, equip, and enrich the lives of teen girls and women through a variety of ways. And by you connecting with the well, this is one of the ways that we do that. And particularly, we use this as a venue, opportunity for women to connect with us through conversation. And many times these are conversations that we do or do not have or have not had. And we make sure they're topics that are relevant to all those women that may be viewing. So as you journey with us tonight or today, enjoy the conversation. We encourage you to have the conversation with your family, with your friends, with your tribe, whoever may be of interest to you. We don't pretend to be experts. We don't pretend to have all the knowledge base on any of this. What we are women, vulnerable, transparent, authentic, and gathering to have the conversation. So we welcome your comments at the end. Please do let us know what your thoughts are. We welcome you sharing that. And we're going to get started for the evening. So I'm going to allow each of the women to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Nina, and then we'll move to Audrey, then Jennifer, then Alicia, then Gianna, and then Janelle. I'll remind you of the order in the beginning. So introduce yourself, ladies, about 20 to 30 seconds, and then we're going to jump right into the conversation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nina, and for the purpose of this topic, I'm just going to start off by saying I'm a free spirit.
Oh, love that. Okay, we're going to have to ask some follow up on that. Okay, Audrey, tell us about you. Oop, you're on mute. Let me unmute you. Okay, so why don't we go to Gianna next until Audrey gets unmuted?
I'm Gianna. Um, I am 27 years old, and I'm looking forward to this topic.
Oh, okay. See what she's going to bring, ladies. Excited about her. Okay, Alicia?
My name is Alicia. I'm not telling my age.
Don't blame you.
And my favorite color is purple.
Ah,
I don't
girl
know.
after my heart. Yeah, yeah, love purple too. All right, Jennifer?
My name is Jennifer from Cleveland, Ohio. Coloring outside of the lines, that's the topic for tonight. I think I need to do more of that.
Oh, love that. Yeah, that's good. All right, so Janelle, welcome. How are you? Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janelle, part of the ELF team. My favorite color is green, and I do like to color outside the lines a lot.
Oh, okay. So we're going to explore that because that interpretation of coloring outside the lines, when I was doing a little bit of research to prepare for this, is so broad. So it's going to be good to hear each of your perspectives about that. Okay, Audrey, want to introduce yourself?
Guys,
There you go.
sorry, I didn't want to be distracted by my just arriving son and grandson, so I apologize for the delay.
Oh, no worries. Life happens.
Yes, I feel much better. I'm in my private space.
Okay.
So again, ladies, my name is Audrey. I am a mom. I'm a grandmom. I am a wife. I am an individual that loves life. And like the topic says, I like to challenge things as much as possible.
Oh, wow. So I got a good group here tonight. I got the ones that already know they color outside the line, some that want to color a little bit more outside the line. This is going to be good. So just to get the conversation rolling, since some of you have offered some introspection, if you will, into your interpretation of coloring outside the lines, for the purposes of this discussion, I'm going to provide a little bit of the definition that I use to kind of guide the conversation. So to color outside the lines is an idiom that means to not follow the rules, to think creatively, to behave in an unconventional manner. So, first question, ladies, and jump in as you like. What is one cultural or family line that you felt or that you color outside of? So when we talk about that, that means what maybe a rule that was cultural or part of your family that you felt like you just did not adhere to, or you were creative about it. I don't want to add too much to it, but I'm giving you time to think, or that you just addressed it in an unconventional manner. So sometimes that can be our career choices, that can be our pursuit of life, maybe in unconventional ways, as well as sometimes breaking a rule that we understand uh, was established to kind of contain a way of being. All right, so who's the adventurous one? Let me see. Not to say the rest of you aren't, but who? All right, Nina's ready. She's itching. Go ahead, Nina. Go ahead, Nina.
I would say one thing that I've noticed about some of my family, the women are more timid. Not
Mm.
saying that they are going to like bow down to a man, but they're more of the stay home type, the cook and clean. I also cook and clean, and part of me sometimes is like, oh, staying home, that would be nice. But at the same time, I'm just like, I want more. I don't
Mm.
want to do what the majority does. I want to go out there and I want to make my own path. I want my name to be known. Like, I don't want to be, oh, that's his wife. I want to be, oh,
Mhm.
that's Dr. Townsend over there. So,
Okay, all right. Nina wants her name and likes y'all. That's what I'm hearing. She wants us to know her and know her pursuit. Wow. Okay. So before I go any further, who else wants to jump in on that? I love that though, because we'll talk about the timidness of women because that could be generational, but I'm gonna table that for a minute. So if I forget, somebody remind me to come back, or better yet, I'll write a little note. But who wants to jump in while I'm writing notes?
I'll be next, because I kind of think that, yeah, that's a very good topic. I have always been someone who challenged everything. And I
So
didn't,
give us some examples if you don't mind, or to give us some
okay,
examples of some
so
things you challenged.
when I was young, I had a head of hair, a lot. I couldn't understand why my mother wouldn't let me cut it. I just didn't understand. I thought it was cute. I found a style that would suit me. I'm 15 at the time, and I just didn't understand why she kept saying no. You know, so I came home one day and I cut it all off, short, like Bond. You know,
How did
and
that go over?
it didn't. It didn't because culturally that's not what you do.
Mm,
Your mother said no and you didn't do it. But my personality, and I didn't know it was a personality at the time, is yeah, I want to do it. Yeah.
okay, so far I've heard a little bit of timidness and looking at the women that are around us, and then, or if I can assert this term, the rule breaker. Like although you knew it was a rule, you were more concerned about your perspective, your being, as it related to your own persona. So we're definitely going to come back to,
In
am I,
individualism,
I'm sorry?
I defined it as my own individualism.
Love it. Love it. Writing that word down because we're going to come back there. Okay. Any others want to volunteer, share? All right, Janelle?
In my family, there was a few things. My family, I grew up generally conservative family, so my mom would make reference, say, and family would say I was a free spirit, but I didn't really think I was that free, but but I guess I was just a little more out of the box than everyone else. So when it came to career wise, my family is very, go to school, get an education, get a good job. So I actually did do that. But then when I achieved everything that I thought I was supposed to achieve, I wasn't satisfied and it wasn't fulfilling. So I ended up transitioning and giving it up. Uh, Parents were not happy, and I ended up making my own way and creating, using, and noticing that my gifts didn't always fit into these particular corporate molds. Um, so now I've kind of found a balance, but in different aspects of my life. I ask a lot of why. My dad, he's a Caribbean father. I asked a lot of why questions. I wanted to understand his point of view, and a lot of times I can always, his look on his face is like, every time I ask why or explain. So it actually helped my relationship with my father grow, but he actually had to understand that this child of his was not like his other child, and I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but I really just wanted to understand why, where are we going with this? So our relationship has grown. It didn't like mold into a disrespectful child, situation, but it took a while to get there.
Thank you for sharing that, Janelle, because I will say, even in my childhood, I was the why. I needed to analyze, I didn't know this language at that age, but I was always, don't hand me something without doing the math. Like, tell me why. Like, don't just tell me. I need to understand why we do what we do. So I can definitely relate to that. But I will say there were some times where it wasn't so pleasant. Like, every now and then my parents were just like, because I said so. And I think part of it, now that I'm a parent, is exhaustion. You're just tired of having to deal with this child that just wants to know everything. Way too inquisitive. Um, and some of it was, I'm going to say, even cultural. I grew up in a time where I felt like it was still unspoken that kids are seen and not heard. And so, as you can see, I enjoy talking, I enjoy communicating. So that was just natural for me. And again, it was like, all right, who invited you to the table? You supposed to not really be at the table. Like, you're not old enough to be at the table. But anyway, so I can certainly relate to that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about cultural and for family dynamics, because that often is where we learn a lot of who we are. But I'm appreciating how Audrey acknowledged there's a little bit of resistance when you want to build your own individualism, when you want to allow who you are created to be, who you are, to just manifest, to come out and be who you are. All right, so I want to give Jennifer, Alicia, or Gianna opportunity to join in if ready. If not, we can kind of shape the conversation. All right, I see Jennifer unmuting. All right, Jennifer.
So what first comes to mind is when Nina said that she grew up in a house, I guess, that had like not constructs, but it was kind of like an example, right? And so I guess that caused me to reflect on my own growing up. And I think I look at, because I didn't necessarily have that example, I had to make my own. And so growing up meant doing things in a certain way that was ordered, because I didn't have that example, and to some degree still don't. So it's kind of like you're making your own path to make sure it fits inside the lines, because it's what you're supposed to do, even though you might not have that example in front of you. So I don't know, that just something that clicked with me.
Oh, I appreciate that, because that's interesting, because what I'm hearing, and help clarify, is that although there wasn't a model for you, you had to kind of create your own. But I heard you say stay within the lines. So if I can hang out with you for a minute, Jennifer, not having a model as you offered, how did you know where the lines were? What kind of defined for you what womanhood, what was expected of you, how you should be?
My grandmother and aunts.
Okay. Yeah.
So you didn't necessarily have a immediate example, but I still had an example. But you still want that. You still want that example that's closest to you to be that. And even though it might not be there, it still was there. But again, you're kind of, I'm not gonna say compensating, but you kind of are.
Yeah, no, I think compensating is a good word. I think you're trying to create the harmony, if you will, in how you establish what the lines are, whether you want to be in the lines or out of the lines, but really what are the lines? And sometimes I refer to our boundaries or as like property lines. Like you need to know how far can you go and at what point are you going beyond what's protected or needs to be guarded. But okay, lady, oh good already. Rich stuff, rich stuff. So I don't want to not afford Gianna and Alicia opportunity. Would you ladies like to jump in and offer as well?
I think for me, I'm like kind of a little bit different than some of my family members. My sometimes the joke in my house is that somehow the lines got crossed between I call her my sister, but she's really my first cousin, and my mother are a lot alike, and my first cousin's mother and I are a lot alike. I'm more.
Mm.
I don't. My mother likes to bake and do certain things and wears the jewelry and all that stuff. I'm not doing that. Uh, when I tell people once or twice a year I wear a dress, and if two people get married and I have a Christmas party in a year, somebody just won't see me in a dress. And if I don't have to wear a dress, I won't. So that's just how I am. I don't like that. Growing up, my mother would say do this, and I would do just the opposite, just because she said to do X, Y, and Z. Or at first she told me to go to a black college. I wasn't going to a black college. I grew up in a mixed community. But in a roundabout way, I went on a college tour and decided on going to Howard. So that's how that happened. But it's because you're telling me to do it doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
Wow, this is so interesting. We all sound alike on here. This was not intentional. Like, I know Jennifer, you may not be there, but the rest of y'all, are we the rebels? Well, tell me. I don't know. Are we? Or is it, as Audrey so eloquently put it, our individualism? Is it our uniqueness? Is it our expression? Is it who we are becoming? I still think I'm becoming. And I'm not going to say my age either, Alicia, but I still think I'm becoming. I'm still growing into womanhood and the different phases of life. But all
I
right,
have to
Gianna.
agree with Alicia. It might be a rebel. When I was little,
Yeah.
I flushed my earrings down the toilet, and my mom had to fight with me to put on makeup. Now that I'm older and she's not telling me to, I'll do it occasionally. But I definitely I flushed everything down the toilet. Sorry.
Wow.
I was young. I was very, very young. But yeah, I did
that's
that.
interesting. Gianna was getting ready to mention something, but we're gonna circle back because I'm gonna talk about that resistance, because it sounds like a little bit of resistance, or Alicia said, you're not going to tell me what to do a little bit. So I want to talk about that a little bit, but go ahead, Gianna, because I saw you chuckling. I saw you chuckling.
Agree with Alicia because that was me. Everything my mother and father said, I did the complete opposite, in good or bad. So, and definitely caught up with me. Gotta say that, but
Yes. So when you think of coloring outside the lines, what is one particular, if you're willing to share, um, memory that you have of maybe being first exposed or first encounter of feeling like you were outside the line?
it's a tough question.
Okay. Cool. Anybody else want to jump on it while Gianna think about it? I'm trying to track for us, like how early did our uniqueness or individualism surface? Because we're not going back to two. Like terrible twos is just terrible twos. Everything is no, 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 no. But as far as you can recall or remember, I know for me it got right around seventh, eighth grade, and maybe it was the development biologically of my menstrual. Okay, so I'm having an aha moment while I'm having this conversation. So that could have been part of it too. So our development plays a role into how we allow ourselves to continue to grow and develop. Because I can remember some very specific instances around seventh, eighth grade that my mother probably wanted to put me out, but legally she probably couldn't. Um, I was a daddy's girl, so I'm sure he would have had issues. But yeah, our relationship got very tethered, to say the least, around that point. I was feeling myself, as she used to say. That was a term she used to say. Like, are you feeling yourself? Um, so just trying to help create for other women that may be viewing or others, kind of, journey back. Think back to where some of your personal identity began to form. Um, Perhaps that'll help a little bit. All right, Gianna, I see the finger. Go ahead, girl.
So I would probably say senior year in high school.
Mm.
I just wanted to do everything on my own. Didn't care what the cost it was for anybody's feelings. I never listened to anybody when I was a senior. Well, it was like senior year to like first year of college.
Mm.
I just wanted to do everything on my own. It was tough. It was a hard lesson to learn.
Okay.
But it also taught me a lot of good things.
Well, probably some resiliency.
Yeah.
When you make these decisions and you want autonomy,
Yeah.
it comes with responsibility. So definitely interesting. Anyone else want to jump in on that about a specific time frame in life or something you could put your finger on as a memory as to when that identity began to form?
I would
That's so.
like to agree with Gianna. I feel that college, maybe freshman year of college, is really when I was just like, you know what, I got this. And I really thought I was grown, and I was 18. And I really thought I knew it all. And I'm like, I got this. I'm in college. I'm on my own. I can do this. I'm going to make my own path. This is so easy. I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately, that yes, you can color outside the line, but at the same time, you just can't stray way out there. Like
Mm.
you kind of have to stay in the zone of where those lines were made by like your family or wherever your influence is coming from. But it's okay to go outside of the lines. Just don't go 300 yards to east, because then
Mm.
a whole different thing starts happening.
I love that because now that begs a question for me. Um, is you're outside of the lines, and what I'm hearing you say, Nina, is that you don't go too far. How do you reset? How do you know from a creative standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, even from society? They give you a lot of influence as to our measure, how it's, I mean, not to associate us with dogs, but it's almost like a dog with a leash. Like sometimes you'll, release and let them journey, and then you kind of lock it because it's like, okay, that's about as far as I'm going to let you go. So looking at our life, looking at how we may test outside of the lines, um, what does that feel like? How much experience and growth do you feel like happens outside of the line?
I feel like I don't want to say all, but a good percentage, like maybe 85% of your growth is going to happen outside of those lines, because that's where, as Audrey said before, that's where your individualism is being developed. That's where you're actually figuring out what you need to do to get to where you need to be. So, in a sense of me thinking, how do I know I've gone too far? Taking your analogy of the dog on the leash. If you
Mm.
let them go too far and they start wandering in the street, there's an issue there, because now there's possibilities of them getting hit. There's possibilities of anything happening if they get too far, and they might pull and you might accidentally let go of the leash. So I just have to, when I'm outside of the lines, I just have to take a second sometimes to just think, I know I'm outside the lines and I know where I want to go, and I know I have to be daring sometimes,
Mm.
try new things. But am I being too daring where I'm creating more obstacles than opportunities?
Ooh, okay. Ooh, girls, I'm gonna just leave that right there. I'm gonna let the rest of y'all answer that. Opportunity or obstacles? Jump in. Anyone. Outside the lines, is it opportunity or obstacles? Could it be both?
I think it's both. For me, what I see is structure. Operating within the lines is structure.
Mm.
And usually parents give you structure, or some you're by whoever you're raised by, there's that structure which is within the line. So for me, in order to find my individualism, I had to come out of the line because of culture, because of my religious affiliation. I grew up in a Church of God, very strict
Mm.
and homely, and don't. And I'm like, what can we do then? No. Again, back to the questioning that some of you mentioned, because all we were told in the line is don't, can't,
Mm, mm.
and my religion was a big influencer in my life. So coming out of the line to find myself, um, when you go too far, there are consequences. And my consequence, I could be, we're women. I ended up having a child really young. Went to college and I got pregnant while I was in school. Now, is that because I came out the line? Probably. But with that came growth.
Agreed.
So it depends on how you analyze the result of your coming out the line for yourself. Everyone's experience brought a different result.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah,
So
I
one of the,
agree.
or someone's speaking. I'm sorry, Janelle.
All right.
Go.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was the a little bit of the opposite where I was defiant in some ways, but I've actually tried to stay in the lines growing up pretty thoroughly. Religion was a big, part of my household and part of my life. And generally, I actually stayed within the lines growing up. And a lot of that, some parts were fear, the don't do that, don't do this, you have to do it this way. And I did all that. And I actually got on this path where I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. And then when I found that I only found myself when I broke out of those lines. So there was a lot of opportunity. And I actually had to deal with the fear. Not only, I had the fear of what could happen to me if I color outside of lines. And then when I got to that next boundary of what happens if I color outside the lines of what's already established, like say the step by steps, this is how your life should be planned out, or if you follow this path, these are the steps you need to take. And those steps did not add up for me. So I had to deal with this fear of now if I color outside the lines, there's no outline of what I need to do. When I stepped out of the church setting I was in, because I was constantly as a woman being told everything I needed to be and do as a woman, and as a young single woman, it was taking up so much of my time that it wasn't even allowing me to enjoy life fully. Plug.
Oh,
It wasn't
I didn't
allowed. It
pay
was
her,
kind of
y'all.
like
I didn't
stuck.
pay her.
It was kind of sucking. There was nothing wrong with being in the church or anything. I am in the church, but I needed to take a different avenue that did not look like the way it was mapped out for me. And so I made a few mistakes and things like that, but I kind of did the opposite. I was operating in fear, trying to stay in the lines, but there has been so much growth and opportunity once I stepped out. And I'm still, figuring things out, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh, I love that. I love the fear piece, um, and the compliance. So I heard a bit of compliance and fear, and that's natural. I mean, because again, our family, our parents are our safety net. They are our authority. They are our life givers. So to some degree, they earn that place of being able to speak into our lives and begin to establish some of those boundaries, those property lines for us. So Jennifer, I saw you move your hand. Were you just moving your hand, or did you want to offer something?
No, I was just listening.
Oh, okay, okay. So now I'm going to throw some different dimensions
Can
of
I
life.
say something to that point?
Yes, absolutely, Orge. Go ahead.
Yeah. To that point, I think one of the lessons I learned from it, and I say that because of where I am in life, ladies, that when I had children, I remembered and tried to not do the same thing to them. Because I think sometimes when you force people to stay within the line, it's oppressive. And you don't get to see or allow your children or people
Yes.
to blossom. And at some point, when they go into the world without you, they are going to color out the line, but you haven't taught them how to operate outside of the line.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, the issues that come along, because it's almost like problem solving, you never allowed them to think outside the line. So how do you do it? So I think there's a balance
Yes,
that
I'm
needs
agree
to
with you.
happen.
Yeah, I'm agree with you because I appreciate what Nina offered about having an awareness of knowing you're outside the line, but how far outside the line are you going to go? Yet, I believe all that have participated thus far have said there's been some growth and there's been some development that has happened outside the line. Um, so I'm agreeing with you, Audrey, that if you stay constrained or contained in those lines, and for those who have children, if you try and keep them in the lines, I'm not suggesting you let them go and willy nilly, but there has to be some harmony in where do you arrive, but also creating a space for that experience, for that opportunity. Thank you, Nina. So let's talk about that a little bit. Um, Being outside the lines, do you feel, for those who said that they were confident that they went outside the line, do you feel like it was in direct um, conflict with some of the guidelines or lines that you were provided by those in authority? Because we're talking primarily about family, but it could be in any other area. It could be even in our career pursuits. It could have been in, I heard a bit about spirituality and religion. There's so many different spectrums of life, and I have a few that I want us to tap into. But let's talk about that a little bit. How did you kind of gauge yourself when you were outside of the lines to kind of make sure that you were not like swinging the pendulum so far that there was this pendulum wouldn't swing back? Go ahead, G.
Well, like I said, I was like really rebellious. And I was really outside the lines at one point and would actually, I had to draw myself in by actually getting back to church.
Mm.
It kind of just gave me a new look on life. I had my daughter at a very young age, and it also taught me to grow up and stuff because I had to make some big decisions. And I don't think I would have been able to do these decisions without going back to church and really honing in on that and getting
Awesome.
closer with God to be able to make these decisions I had to make.
Awesome. Love that, G. So, segue. So, how important is your faith, your spirituality, even in coloring outside the lines? Let's jump on that, ladies.
I honestly believe that my faith is very important when it comes to coloring outside the lines, because there have been times where I thought I could just color outside the lines, and I slowly grew farther from Christ.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I thought I was creating so many new doors to open for myself. And every time I opened the door, there would be some devastation behind there. So Gianna literally took the answer out of my mouth. I had to go back. I had to go back. And when I started reconnecting myself, I remained outside of the lines, but I had Christ to guide me and show me the way to create my own new path.
Love that. Love that. Anyone else want to tackle that question or jump in, offer your perspective?
I think for me, sometimes I know in my adult life, I think, well, I guess more so because I work for the church or our church. I don't know who else goes to our church, Gwinnett, but sometimes I think about, am I going to get yelled at by Pastor David or Pastor Marlinda if I
No
did?
names, please.
Oh,
No
sorry,
names.
sorry.
That's okay.
If I did X, Y, and Z, or
Mm.
so sometimes that makes me think if a pastor caught me, what would happen, or how would I think? Because that's more so of a person that can actually stop. And then sometimes you have to think, well, what would Jesus do, or what would Jesus want, or whatever the case may be. If I did went too far left, but sometimes I just feel like you have to certain things you have to learn for yourself. Because everybody always says, "Oh, go to college, go do this, go do that," and sometimes that might not always be a best fit for everybody. So
Yes.
some things you guys kind of have to learn on your own to make your own way.
I appreciate that, Alicia, because I'm a firm believer. Not everyone is destined for college. Um, However, society and sometimes family, I don't mean this in a negative way, will push that as the only route. And that, again, is keeping someone inside the lines, as Audrey alluded to earlier, not allowing the person to develop what their creative gifts are or their interests or their passions because they're conforming so much to the, oh, I see your hand, Janelle. Go ahead.
I was gonna agree that my spirituality really does play a strong role in coloring outside the lines, especially when I was struggling with taking certain steps. The song Oceans comes to mind. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon
Yes.
the waters wherever you will call me. And I had to keep singing that and finding scriptures around that and singing that into my spirit because it was a very scary, it's a very scary process when you're outside of the borders. And if you're not connected to Christ, you can get distracted and you can get misled. So with that, spirituality also brings discernment. So you can, come out of those lines and use discernment because it's not always, life isn't this, straight path or, footprints that you can just step into.
Right.
So having God and spending time and trusting God is my only lifeline in coloring outside of the lines.
So thank you, Janelle, because I think you are um, kind of covering what Nina referenced earlier about stepping outside the lines and not going too far. So what I'm hearing from you, Janelle, is that your faith, your spirituality is really, I'm going to say, that secondary line. Like, you'll color outside the lines, maybe by human or man's or woman's or society's definition, but you certainly know
Exactly.
that line, that based upon your faith and your belief that you are going to not cross or not color outside of. So thank you. Thank you for bringing the spiritual and faith piece, and thank you, ladies, for sharing. So just a couple more, because I don't want to tire our conversation out, but this is good. It's moving a lot different than I expected in a positive way, that we just have so much to offer and say. So let's think about our own personal self-image. How has coloring outside the lines impacted your self-image? How you see yourself, how others see yourself, how you respect and love yourself. Let's talk about that a little bit, but coloring outside the line.
Coloring outside the line has improved my self reflection, my self image, because I don't see myself as someone who follows the herd of sheep. Like, I see myself
Mm,
as being that bold one who's going to notice something that may not be right or notice something's out of place and say, wait, I think we could try this. And if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay. I'll learn from that and I'll try another tactic that I can think of. But I definitely see myself as more as an initiator now and not just
mm,
someone who's going to just be like, okay, I'll do what you told me to. I see myself as motivated now.
awesome. All right, good
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Any other lady
Mm-hmm.
want to jump in on
Mm-hmm.
that?
Mm-hmm. Can
Self-image?
you
I
can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay. For me, I agree with that. It emboldened me from a young age to be okay with saying no,
Mm,
to be okay with being the one that's on the outside. And when I went to college, I wasn't afraid or intimidated. Um, or even when I relocated to New Jersey, because I'm not originally from New Jersey, I was really okay with myself because I had learned at a young age to be that outlier, that person that challenged or was okay with being different
mm,
or having a mind of my own.
okay, love it. Love it. Anyone else?
yeah, I had to learn to say no, and I also still working on it, but coloring outside the lines helps you not worry so much about what other people think and what people approve of. So I found myself becoming more concerned about my purpose, where God was taking me, where I was being led, what was unique and authentic to me versus what other people thought.
Yes. Love that, because people will, with good measure, with good intention, sometimes impose upon us their perspective and their expectations. And to honor ourselves, it does require at times what looks like us coloring outside the lines, or standing in opposition, or positioning ourselves for our own personal betterment based on who we get to know ourselves to be. So anyone else want to talk a bit about self-image? I have two more topics. If not, we will move on. Okay. So let's talk about, in your pursuit of particular careers or education or things of passion, who felt as though they color outside the line, and what did that look like? What did that require on your part?
At the very beginning, I am a teacher right now, and I love being a teacher. I wouldn't give it up for anything in the world. But that's mainly a woman dominated field. So I didn't necessarily step out of the line for as of right now, but I knew very young that I wanted to teach children. But in the future, I want to have my own practice. Now, that is more of a male dominated field. So I knew I would be stepping out of lines right there, because there are many female psychiatrists that may have their own practice, but it's not talked about often. So I just want to be that presence, and I just want to go ahead in that direction, because again, that's something I know I want to do. And I just know that I feel so strongly about my own self-image and about creating my own path, my own lines to color in, that I won't be deterred from it.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyone else? All right, Jennifer, I'll pull you out in a minute, because I know where you at and what you're doing. So it's non-traditional. Don't make me and so just for the benefit of the conversation, the reason why I can kind of slightly attack her, she's a family member, so I know her business a little bit. So
So to chime in to what Nina said, I am in medical school, and it is a very male dominated. How do I say it? This just came to me. The fact that I'm a black female in medicine is coloring outside of the lines in the profession. So that's in and of itself coloring outside of the lines. But the good thing is that's changing, and I think on a daily basis, what you see is not, your presence is not the norm. And so you're confronted with that every day, and it gets so tiring. But, I think with Kamala, that will change, hopefully. And I think resilience, it definitely will change, or your own resilience. So, yeah.
All right, good stuff. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else feel as though there's some aspect of their passion, their current career track, or even what you aspire to be? Because we still have many more years, right? So maybe there's something you're aspiring towards that would be outside the lines, just for the benefit of us, what you mind sharing.
I've run into this. I don't know if you saw me shaking my head, but
oh, I didn't. My bad.
No, I meant like just shaking my head, like, why this question? So my background is accounting, and I'm in finance, but I'm studying for my master's in divinity, and I don't plan to be a pastor. So that's all, people who know me as the business finance person, the money person, and then they, catch a whiff, oh, what are you studying? Like, my master's in divinity. Like, okay. So, and it all, for me, God has a plan, and I'm still sorting it out, but it involves ministry and economic justice. So it doesn't naturally mold to what someone with their master's in divinity pursues, or even on the track and things like that. So those conversations are very interesting when people find out all that I'm doing.
Yes,
That's interesting. It's
it
different.
is. I love the
Mhm.
diversity of all of us represented.
Mhm.
So some of you
Mhm.
have had the opportunity to acknowledge your fields just for the benefit of all those that are viewing. You don't have to go into depth. With the remaining three that did not offer the field that you're in, would you just mind offering so that women can see themselves, so that they can see
Sure.
themselves kind of uh, in what we do?
Sure. This is Audrey. I currently work, I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for many years, and I worked in communications most of my life. Absolutely love it. And when you talk about coloring outside the lines, it was a
Mm.
little challenging for me because it entailed a lot of travel. And I had young children, and there was a lot of feedback from my mom's generation, that you're leaving the kids. And what kind of job is that you have that you leave your children? That type of thing. And I had to fight through that because I didn't want their input to deter my career. And I loved it, and my children grew from it. Um, so I had to make my own life and be able to stand in it and
Mm.
stay in the career. I currently still work for a pharmaceutical company, but now I'm in philanthropy, the
Oh.
philanthropy department at Merck. And I got to tell you, I wondered why I stayed on the other side so long because it's brought out in me a part of me. I've always been a giver. If I had to
Mm.
describe myself as anything, one of them would be a giver. And working in this area where we give the companies money, um, it's such a good feeling. It's just really such a good feeling.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Audrey. We have Gianna. I see you unmuted. Go ahead.
So I'm Gianna. I am a hairstylist. Coloring outside the box or outside the lines for me would be I want to specialize in curly hair. The salon that I currently work in, nobody there really knows how to cut or style curly hair, naturally curly hair. And that's something that I've always been passionate about. I love curls. Um, I think they have the best hair, curly hair people. I actually used to get perms because I love curls. And I just want to go into learning how to cut curly hair and being able to perfect that.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, Alicia.
I work in social services. Uh, I'm not going to tell you what I refer to my job as, but I've been working this whole time helping to feed people, and that's pretty much the extent of my job,
Okay.
to help
Do you
feed
do,
people.
do you feel like there's any aspects of it where you color outside the lines, or perhaps some of your passions? What about your passions? Do you feel like any of that will take you to a place of being non-traditional or allowing your creativity to manifest?
In that job, no.
Oh,
I've tried to venture out, and I've always wanted to be a police officer. I did that, but then I didn't like it, so I didn't make it through the full process, but I did go to the police academy. But if I had done that at half the age that I am now, it would have made a difference. But trying to go over 30 is not fun.
mm. Yeah,
But
because that's a rigorous process.
yeah,
And that, although there are women that are in the field, it still is male dominant.
yeah,
So
very.
that's still a very
Mhm,
heavily male
mhm,
dominant
mhm, mhm.
career track. All right, ladies. So to kind of close us out, I'm going to ask you to think of one word that would define your coloring outside the line. It could have been a word that you learned early. It could be a word that you learned mid-life based on the age you are, or it could be a word you learned yesterday about coloring outside the line. But just as an opportunity to maybe inspire another woman or motivate her or just give her insight into where she is. If you could think of one word that will represent your coloring outside the line. And whoever's ready can go. I saw Gianna's hand, so go ahead, Gianna.
I would say the one word would be determined.
Okay, determined. Love that. All right. Anyone else? Let's see.
I would say my one word for coloring outside the lines would be uplifting.
Okay, we have determined and uplifting. Okay.
My word is authenticity.
Love it.
Love
Yes.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. My word would be focus.
Oh, ladies. Yes. Okay. Two more, Alicia and Jennifer.
I'll say independence. Independence.
Independence.
Yeah, like
Okay. Like that. And Alicia, sorry, we didn't hear you.
Okay, because I don't follow directions and I always go outside the box. I'm gonna say a phrase. Just do it, like Nike says. Whatever you
Oh,
want
all
to
right.
do,
See, she's
just
coloring
do it.
outside the lines right now. I love it.
I like it. I like it. That's a
Yes.
good one.
Yes. Just do it.
Just
Just
do it.
do it. I
That's right.
love it. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you for being
Yes.
transparent and authentic and determined and uplifting and independent. And just do it. Just do it is what we
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah. I like it. Like it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, ladies, be well. Look forward to our next conversation. Continue
Thank
to
you.
enjoy your week, and we'll connect with you real soon. You can
Yes.
always
God
catch up with
bless.
Enjoying Life Fully at www.enjoyinglifefully.com. And if you're interested in participating in one of our upcoming conversations, go on there. There's a connect option. We welcome your joining. Be well.
Take care.
Bye.